tonight's top stories. The family of the 32-year-old mother who worked in Gibraltar and went missing 20 months ago have offered a reward for information. The Supreme Court finishes hearing evidence in the case where Jim Magna is suing RBS. And the Chief Minister and his deputy leave for London this weekend for joint ministerial talks on Brexit. Good evening. The family of 32-year-old mother Lisa Brown, who went missing in November 2015, have offered a reward for information which might unravel the mystery of her disappearance. Miss Brown lived in San Roque and worked in Gibraltar, and the Royal Gibraltar Police assisted the Spanish authorities in the initial investigation. For the first time in 20 months, family members have broken their silence and told GBC they believe Lisa was murdered.
Lisa Brown would now be 34 years old and is originally from Dumbarton, Scotland. She has a 10-year-old son with a former partner and settled in San Roque with her ex-boyfriend, a 35-year-old yacht dealer from Liverpool called Simon Corner. In November 2015, Lisa disappeared without a trace.
We were kind of asked to go to my mum's. Some news, and we weren't really sure what it was, so kind of finished work and headed to my mum's. And that's when Mum told us that the Spanish police had contacted her and says that Lisa had been reported missing. And you get a gut feeling that something's wrong, something's very, very wrong. He's a wee boy that misses his mum. His bedroom's absolutely covered in photos of Lisa, who had adored him, absolutely adored him.
The Spanish police searched in the nearby region but found no clues as to her whereabouts. A European arrest warrant was ordered for Mr. Corner, who was then extradited from Denmark and held in cells in Spain until he was released on bail last year. The Royal Gibraltar Police assisted in the initial investigation.
Well, back in November 2015, when Lisa Brown was reported missing in Spain, that same day we were contacted through official police channels, through the Schengen channel, by the Spanish authorities, like they do many times, many occasions daily in relation to other investigations. So, like any other case, they contacted us to assist them in their investigation because of an obvious connection between Miss Brown and Gibraltar.
So what is the background into Lisa Brown? What connection did she have with Gibraltar? And what's the nature of the inquiries that you carried out?
Yeah, obviously, like I said, the Spanish authorities contacted us for our assistance so that we could help them in any way that Lisa Brown was connected to Gibraltar, which I can confirm that she had previously worked in Gibraltar and that she was going to start commencing a new job in Gibraltar. So because of that and because of individuals that were acquaintances and colleagues of hers that still resided in Gibraltar, whereas she lived in Spain, they asked us to assist them in relation to speaking to those people, taking statements from those individuals, and obviously all that information was passed back to the Spanish authorities through the relevant and appropriate channels.
2 more men have been arrested in connection with the incident: 51-year-old Stephen Jackson and 71-year-old Ron Beasley. Lisa's family have little hope she will be found alive, but they want closure and justice. They're raising funds so they can offer a reward for anyone who may give it to them.
That's really difficult to say out loud. You know, it's really difficult to say out loud. She's been murdered. She's been murdered. And we know who's done it. We don't know why. We don't know how. The how is probably too painful to hear, and I don't know if I'll ever hear the why. Why can anybody do that to somebody?
Anyone with any information should contact the Royal Gibraltar Police on 200 725 00.
Live evidence has now concluded in the Supreme Court case in which Irish online gaming millionaire Jim Magna is suing RBS International.
In his closing argument, Stephen Moverley-Smith QC, appearing for Magna, said the RBS employees must have been well aware of what was going on and that their lapses of memory regarding misappropriation of client funds were exceptionally convenient and incredible. He said the employees saw money coming out of the client account, but for some reason saw no issue allowing a situation which was plainly improper to continue. However, they clearly had enough concern to investigate the situation. Acting for RBS, Nicholas Medcroft said there was no evidence RBS employees were involved in the deception, and said of the fact none of them could recall any misappropriation of client funds that the lack of recollection is evidence of honesty and not dishonesty. He said it was an issue that never assumed prominence, which is why they don't remember. Mr. Medcroft told the court there was a lack of motive and questioned why the witnesses would risk their reputations and livelihoods, explaining that careless behaviour is not dishonest behaviour, and the more likely explanation is they simply didn't spot the inaccuracies. Puny Judge Mr. Justice Adrian Jack will now consider the balance of evidence before returning a verdict.
A 26-year-old local man has been reported for process and his vessel impounded for exceeding the speed limits whilst navigating a speedboat within the fairway leading to the vessel refuelling stations and Ocean Village. He was also reported for navigating a vessel without a licence. The vessel's licence, known as the Red Book, has been temporarily suspended following a similar breach of the speed limit. That suspension has been extended by the Port Authority. Businesses have been the target of the latest fraud highlighted by the RGP. These have been sent cheques for payment of services to be provided at a later date of a greater value than the services requested. The fraudster then asks the business to return the difference by way of a bank transfer to an account outside of Gibraltar's. Businesses are being asked to question all transactions and to confirm that cheques have been cleared before accepting requests for bank transfers. And the Chief Minister, Fabian Picardo, and the Deputy Chief Minister, Joseph Garcia, leave for London this weekend ahead of the next round of Joint Ministerial Council on Brexit. The Council meets on Monday and is composed of ministers and officials from the Gibraltar and UK governments. It provides the framework for the formal contact between the two governments on matters related to the departure from the European Union. The Gibraltar delegation will also include the Attorney General, Michael Jamas, the Financial Secretary, Albert Mena, and the UK representative, Dominic. Mr. Picardo returns to Gibraltar on Monday and Dr. Garcia on Tuesday, after other meetings. And the government has been in close contact with the United Kingdom over the publication Wednesday of further Brexit papers and the Great Repeal or Withdrawal Bill. The Chief Minister points out that Gibraltar differs from other devolved administrations in that the Constitution gives all powers to the Gibraltar government, including external matters related to the EU.
So the position will be that as powers come back from Brussels, there's only one place they can go. In respect of Gibraltar, they don't even go via London, they go straight back to Gibraltar. So for Gibraltar, the position is clearer than it is for the devolved administrations, and the repeal bill is therefore an easier document to deal with, as Gibraltar will have its own freestanding repeal bill in its parliament as a necessary ingredient of the moment of Brexit.
Former England and Wales Attorney General Dominic QC has remarked that border queues are a concern for the British government, but improvements will take cooperation from both sides of the border. A Conservative MP, Mr Grievers in Gibraltar today at the invitation of Michael Jamas QC, Gibraltar's Attorney General, to learn at first hand about the ROC's issues. Kevin Ruiz spoke to Mr Grieve during his site visit to the frontier.
The visit originates in conversations I had with your representative in London in the spring. I think he knew that I was taking a big interest in Brexit as a lawyer, and also we had an opportunity to talk about Gibraltar, some of its problems, its relations with the United Kingdom, and its concerns, particularly surrounding the uncertainties of Brexit, and also its wider concerns about Spanish behaviour towards Gibraltar in the recent past. So all those things led to an invitation from your Attorney General, and I have in the past had links with Gibraltar through my own work as Attorney General of England and Wales, which I've greatly valued. So I came out.
What sort of information, what sort of data are you taking back?
Well, I'm taking back a lot of information about where the economic issues are for Gibraltar concerning Brexit. And I think many of those actually concern the continuing economic relationship with the United Kingdom more than anything else, although clearly there are also real anxieties that Brexit could be used by the Spanish government to cause difficulties to Gibraltar's economic future, and particularly in terms of movement of people and transportation. So I've understood those issues, and I think there's always been an anxiety that in the middle of what is an immensely complex negotiation, Gibraltar might be forgotten, or that if it comes to the crunch, might be sacrificed. I'd like to reassure you that I think that is inconceivable. what I understand of the political dynamics at Westminster, I just don't think that is going to happen.
And I believe this afternoon you've lived for yourself one of the biggest concerns that Gibraltarians have, which is that of the border, with border queues building up in the last few hours. Do you consider this to be the greatest vulnerability for Gibraltar in terms of Brexit?
So I can see what that issue could be and how difficult it would be if something so counterproductive were done by the Spanish government. But the queues are an anxiety. I mean, I've no idea what the justification is for this afternoon, and I suspect there isn't one. And that rather illustrates the difficulty in this relationship, which the United Kingdom would very much like to see improved. But it takes, I'm afraid, two to tango, and the Spanish government's not always easy on this point.
Coming up after the break, why the bluefin tuna catch has already exceeded 9 tonnes after just 4 weeks.
Coming soon, exclusive to the Property Zone. Sanderson Suites, premium living in Gibraltar's historic town centre, bringing together the best elements of modern architecture with beautiful interiors and first-class amenities, including a spa and tropical roof garden. Unique luxury studio and one-bed apartments designed to fit your lifestyle. Just minutes from Main Street. Visit the Property Zone at Majestic Ocean Plaza for over 30 years experience in real estate, or call 200 640 40.
Hey you, yes you. We are rewarding your loyalty with a mobile and broadband deal like you've never seen before. Behold the Monster Bundle! Subscribe to Gib Telecom's mobile maxi plan and get high-speed broadband at home and Wi-Fi hotspot coverage across Gibraltar, all for just £55 a month. That's right, just £55. Now that's what I call a Monster Bundle!
The threads of life, work and finance run through the fabric of Gibraltar. From startups to established groups and organisations, from traditional markets to fintech, our services focus on audit, business consultancy and tax advice. And we are proud of our diverse, high-performing people creating a legacy for future generations. EY, building a better working world.
You could soon spend a fabulous weekend at the Coletta Hotel, a 2-night stay in a suite, with a Paradise Pamper package at its health and beauty club is up for grabs, including a facial, full body massage, pedicure, manicure and body treatment. All you have to do is answer this question correctly to enter the draw. There are several public areas at the Coletta Hotel. What is their main lounge called? If you think it's the Basque Lounge, call 8927. Or, if you think it's the Catalan Lounge, call 8928. Calls cost £1 with a small surcharge for mobiles. Please get the bill payer's permission. Lines close at midnight on the 31st of July, with the winner announced next month. Win with GBC and the Coletta Hotel, the other side of Gibraltar.
When you look around a house, just consider that everything that is there has been chosen, whether it's a family photograph that's been pinned to the fridge or an heirloom that's been inherited. Each item tells a story. And there are also clues for you at home to guess who lives in a house like this. Welcome to There's No Place Like Home.
I knew you were a devout man, but not this devout. Church before Reich?
I'm taking you to a hospital now, okay?
I'm not that stupid. I go to the hospital, I lose you, have nothing to bargain with.
Every gear in this clock is made with different metal. Gold, silver, tin, which is obviously not even remotely functional. I'd say it's decorative, but why would it be inside the clock?
Don't ask.
Welcome back. Yesterday, the Department of the Environment introduced a temporary ban on fishing bluefin tuna, with catches so far this season already exceeding 9 tonnes after just 4 weeks of the season. The reason they say is because of their excessive size and weight, which is typical at the start of the season. The suspension will run from the 16th of July to the 5th of August 2017, both days inclusive, resuming on the Monday the 6th of August, and this includes the catch and release of bluefin tuna.
The Department of the Environment's ban on bluefin tuna fishing comes just 4 weeks into this year's season. Although not a member of the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, or ICAT, Gibraltar's regulations parallel theirs when it comes to quotas.
This is the first year that we've imposed this technical stop in the middle of the open season. And the reason being that the specimens that have been caught so far have been of a very large weight. We're talking about over 100 kilos, sometimes almost close to 300 kilos. So the capacity of the quota is being exhausted very quickly. Therefore, what we've done is we've imposed a technical stop, which will allow the larger specimens, which are the transatlantic species, to return back into the Atlantic Ocean, which is what they're doing right now. And the smaller specimens, so talking roughly between the 30, 40 kilo mark up to 100 or just over, to start sort of moving around in the area, in the region, in the straits. And those will be the ones that ensue usually during August time. So by doing that, we let the larger specimens go through. What's left of the quota will mean that a lot more fish can be caught because we're stopping it until a time when the smaller fish are in the region.
Now, is the ban against bluefin tuna in BGTW, or is it landing the tuna? Because what happens if the tuna is fished in international waters? Is that allowed?
The legislation, the Gibraltar legislation, covers BGTW. Obviously, Gibraltar is not a party to ICAT yet. Therefore, tuna should not be fished in international waters if those fishermen don't have a license to do so. Some of them do, some local fishermen do. But no fish will be able to be landed in Gibraltar during this ban, whether they're caught in or out of BGCW.
What about the measures that are in place to monitor this? Are you satisfied that those are working?
Okay, at the moment, to the best of our knowledge and to our best endeavours, we're patrolling constantly all day. We work very closely with the RGP. We have regular briefings with them in relation to this matter. So to the best of our knowledge, fishermen are complying, and they are calling in the minute they sort of catch a fish. They are calling into the landing station and saying, you know, I've caught a fish, it's going to take me a little while, but be advised I will be going in. And the amount of catches we've had so far would suggest that is the case, that people are complying.
The current catch quota per day is 1 bluefin tuna per boat. However, the Department of the Environment says more fishing licences have been issued this year.
I totally agree with it. I think it's required, given that we have already reached 9 tonnes of the quota in a very short space of time. And the purpose here is to try and protect the different types of fishing, of tuna fishing that takes place in Gibraltar.
Bluefin tuna can reach a whopping 450 kilograms. And although the largest catch recorded so far this season in Gibraltar is 289 kilos, with 1,000 kilograms per tonne, the quota can be reached with just 30 or 40 big fish at the start of the season.
You know, obviously you cannot patrol the waters 24/7. So this is a problem that is inherent in any type of policing, if you want to call it that, with a small p. And at times when boats aren't out there, people might get away with things. But the fact is that we've moved a long way from the days when everything was deregulated to a position where now there are regulations in place. And if people are caught not observing those regulations, they will be taken to court and prosecuted and fined if necessary. So I think we're in a completely different scenario.
In line with ICAT, the government has introduced a corresponding 20% increase in quota to 15.5 tonnes, as from when the season reopens on the 6th of August.
With various points across the Iberian Peninsula declaring record temperatures over the last few days, Kevin Ruiz spoke to Steph Ball of Meteor Gib and asked her what had caused the sudden rise in temperatures. He also asked her if the current heatwave would affect Gibraltar and what role the Levanta played in it all.
What we've had is that we've had low pressure that developed over Morocco, and over the last week what it's done is it's drawn very warm air, exceptionally warm air really for the time of year, that's kept moving up with the southerly winds through the last couple of days. We had a similar situation in 2015 where we had this sort of low pressure and warm air kept coming up, and a lot of the records tumbled across parts of southern Iberia, and we've seen similar over the last couple of days. We saw temperatures reach 47.3 in Montoro, which is very high for the time of year. The averages should be at least, you know, in sort of around the mid-30s, possibly high 30s, you know, a good few degrees higher than average. We've also seen records broken in Cordoba, in Granada, and in Jaén as well. In contrast to that, as we know, along the coast, because we've had Levanta, it's been a completely different story. I mean, between inland and the coast yesterday, there was perhaps a difference of as much as 20 degrees in the temperature, which is, you know, quite phenomenal. And the other thing that we have is normally that when we get these warm spells, it means that for Gibraltar we end up with Levanta and we escape that terrible heat from inland. But this time, because the air is exceptionally warm, we've had this very stickiness, the humidity has been very high, 100% quite a lot of the time, and it's brought us all this persistent low cloud and fog that we haven't been able to get rid of very quickly, that we've had for the last couple of days, and it looks like that's going to continue through the weekend and into the early part of next week too.
In culture this week, we feature the winner of the Albani Summer Exhibition at the Fine Arts Gallery. 18-year-old student Nathan Parodi saw off experienced artists to claim the top prize of £5,000. He expressed delight at the recognition and explained the thinking behind his hierarchy of society.
It felt really good, to be honest. I didn't expect to get this prize. I wasn't expecting it at all, since I was competing against great artists. So it felt really good. It represents the different classes in society: the rich, the middle class, and the poor. Basically, the fruits and the vegetables which are suspended, which are vibrant and colourful, represent the rich and the middle class. And the ones which are placed, the vegetables which are placed on the slabs, concrete slabs, represent the poor. And I got inspired by this artist I saw, which is Cotang. It's called Juan Sanchez Cotang, and he inspired me to do something like this.
Over 70 works were submitted by 45 artists. But for adjudicator Gino Sanguinetti, the winning painting struck a chord from the word go.
There's an evidence I could talk about in other media. I've been talking about the mystery of the composition, which is true. I mean, the elements are quite banal and normal, but he's done it in such a way that he makes you look at these very mundane objects, and suddenly there's a feeling of transcendence. I know he's very influenced by religion, so I think there is a big part of the spiritual in that painting.
10 paintings were also highly commended, with Gino explaining the process he used to arrive at the winners.
Which are the works that haunt me, as we have in the history of art? You know, could say Guernica, Mona Lisa, the water lilies. So we've got all those ghosts that haunt us of the history of art in our minds. And ultimately, you know, when I used to go home every day after having seen and assessed, I said, okay, which are the paintings that are still haunting me? Like meeting somebody and you go like, right, or no, you can go positive or negative. So I took which are the paintings that still haunt me and how deep does the emotion go. Maybe 5–10 minutes ago, it's fresh. There's something about it that God knows.
From still lives to portraits and landscapes, the summer exhibition is certainly varied and has something for almost every taste. On show here at the Fine Arts Gallery until the 23rd of August.
Looking ahead to a relatively quiet weekend of sports here on the Rock. In sailing, tomorrow morning sees the first of a 4-part series of ocean races take place. This comprises of the usual victory class going way out on a route that covers most of the bay. Unlike the usual short sprint races, this one is considered more of a marathon and is set to begin at 11 a.m. There's plenty going on away from the Rock. Tomorrow, 6 local athletes are off to the Bahamas for the Commonwealth Youth Games. The 6th edition of the Games will take place from the 19th to the 23rd of July in the nation's capital of Nassau. A total of 7 sports will be played, with Gibraltar competing in athletics and swimming. It's all about our youngsters this weekend. Away in Malmö, Sweden, Team Gibraltar are competing in the 2017 European Darts Youth Cup. So far, it's been a mixed bag of results, but most notably, the team of Craig Galliano and Jerome Duarte Cipoll made it into the last 16 of the boys' pairs before losing 3-2 to a very strong German team. In yesterday's singles event, we didn't enjoy much success at all, really, although Justin Hewitt was in particularly good form, beating one of the top European youth players in Rusty Jake Rodriguez 3-2. In youth football, Gibraltar's under-12 boys and under-14 girls are away in Frederikshavn in northern Denmark for the No. 1 Cup, an annual youth soccer tournament played on grass pitches of international standards. Our boys made it into the final before losing 7-4 to La Academia from Guatemala, and yesterday our girls did brilliantly to get to their own final, but just fell short at the final hurdle.
And during the course of the afternoon, the Gibraltar darts team of 4 beat Denmark and the Republic of Ireland to qualify from the group stages, only to be knocked out by the Netherlands in the quarter-finals. Just before we go tonight, a reminder of our top story. The family of 32-year-old mother Lisa Brown, who went missing in November 2015, have offered a reward for information which might unravel the mystery of her disappearance. Miss Brown lived in San Roque and worked in Gibraltar, and the Royal Gibraltar Police assisted the Spanish authorities in the initial investigation. For the first time in 20 months, family members have broken their silence and told GBC they believe Lisa was murdered. That's all from the news team this evening. Thanks for watching. Good night.